Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is another one of my Year of Granny squares. There are two different squares that I'm going to show you. They're very kind of related. This one does look kind of like a normal square, but it isn't. It's V's and shells, and this one is all V stitch. So you may remember this yarn from when I did my no turning chains and the granny squares and the willow square. It was a huge hit, a very popular yarn. Unfortunately, it is discontinued, but it does make some really lovely shapes with squares. So I'm going to show you this one first. That's the V stitch, and to do that I'm going to use some yellow yarn. Well, this is Stylecraft Special DK, and I was toying with the idea of two colours with the yellow, or maybe edging it in white just to make it pop. But, you know, this would work with a variegated yarn and a plain, or just doing it all in one variegated yarn like this one. You can just do anything you want, but I thought it would make it nice and simple sort of viewing. If I chose pastel shades, it would show up a lot better than dark ones. So I'm also using a 4mm crochet hook for this one, and I have my scissors and a darning needle, because as I'm changing, then there will be a little bit more kind of burying of yarn, although I do work it as I go usually. So anyway, I'm going to clear all this away, and when I get back I'll be starting off and showing you how to do this. But in the meantime, if you have not done so already, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you click that to all, you won't be notified all, because YouTube don't do that anymore. So you won't get all of them. Okay, so I'm just going to clear this away and get ready to start. Okay, so I'm ready to start. I just want to show you my yarn, my wool genie. It's called a yarn genie, but its proper term is a wool genie. So if you do see something flashing over in this corner, it's that as it spins around. So I just want you to make you aware that that's there, because I didn't want you to sort of wonder what was going on. Okay, so I have another spindle set up with the other colour, and we're going to alternate between the two yellows. And I'm going to start with the paler one, because I think it looks nicer with the paler in the centre. So to start off, we're just going to make a slip knot, which you can do any way that you want. And we're going to chain 4, and that's very simple. I'm assuming you know how to do these stitches. If not, I will put a link up here to my beginners course, where all of those stitches and more are located. The one up there will be right-handed, but there is a link also to the left-handed in the description box, along with all of the materials that I'm using here and where you can get them. Okay, so I'm just going to chain 4 and then go and slip stitch into that first one to make a very small little ring. And there it is. You have to work into the very center of this ring. And what we're going to do is going to chain 3. So normally, if you watch me regularly, you'll know I start with a stack. But because this is a V stitch, we want all of the stitches to be kind of the same width, and the stack that I use is a bit fatter, so I'm not going to be using that for this particular square. So I've chained 3, and that is the equivalent of a UK treble or US double crochet. I only would ever have chained 2 for that, and 1 chain, so it's got a chain in the middle. And then straight into the center of the ring, and you have to work to find it. It's kind of underneath 2 loops. If I move that a sec, there's 1 loop, there's 2 loops, and there you'll find it. So if it is tiny, don't, whatever you do, go into this here. You need to make sure that you find two loops, 1, 2, and then go in beneath that. Okay, so we're going to do a UK treble, which is a double crochet in the US. So if I say treble, you'll know it's a double in the US. And we're going to yarn over, go into the center under those 2 bars, and pull up our loop. And we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 of those, yarn over and pull through 2 of those. So that is our first V-stitch. I'm going to chain 2. Now this is the only kind of time that I ever chain 2 at a corner, and it is because you need in this round to see where your corner is and where your V is, because otherwise they look the same. Okay, so now I'm going to do another V-stitch. I'm going to work over the tail. So I'm going to do 1 UK treble, moving that tail out of the way. 1 UK treble, 1 chain, 1 UK treble back into the ring. And now you can see that ring is growing nicely, so you can actually see where it is. We're going to chain 2. This will be where our corner is. And we're going to do another V-stitch. My yarn got stuck in that same space. So now we're looking like this. We've got a V, a corner, because you can see it's a bit wider, a V, a corner. So we're going to chain 2 for our corner, and we're going to make another V-stitch. Okay, so we're now due for another corner. But the way I'm going to do that is in the second chain from our starting, I'm going to do a UK treble. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that second chain and pull up a loop. Actually, I'm going to do a half treble, not a treble. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through both and, all 3 of those, not both, there were 3. So all 3, and that gives me a nice big hole, just like the other corners. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to make this seamless. Okay, so now I have a corner, a V, a corner, a V, a corner, a V, and I'm in the middle of a corner. So I'm going to chain 3, 2 for my treble, 1 for my space, yarn over, go back into that hole I've just created and make a UK treble. Now that's half a corner, and I'm going to come back and finish that as we go around. So this is now my side. This is a V-stitch. I'm going to go inside there and create a V. I'm not chaining between. I'm just going to do that. Okay. So we've got half a corner and we've got a V side. Now this is our corner space because it's wider. We're going to do a full corner, and it's not tricky. Once you get used to it, it's very, very simple. We're going to do a V-stitch. And we're going to chain 2 for the corner and make another V-stitch in the same space. Okay, so that is what a corner now looks like. A V-stitch, the 2 chain space, and a V-stitch. Now this is our side, sorry. We've got a corner, a side. We're going to do the V-stitch in the side. It looks a little congested at the moment, but it will pull out. And we're back to a corner. So we're going to do a full corner, which is a V-stitch. Two chain between and a V-stitch. If you're quite experienced and you want to do 1 chain at your corner, that's fine, as long as you can find the difference between everything. That's why I'm doing 2. It's the only time I ever will, and that's because we need to see the difference between our corners. And so now we're at a corner again. We're going to V, chain in 2 and do a V. And now we've got 1 side left. We're going to do a V. Now we have to finish this corner. So here it is. This is the space, and there's our 1 V. So we're going to make our V. Okay, so I'm going to change colour this time. So I'm going to start my UK half treble, which is a half double in the US. I'm going to bring in a new colour. Let's bring this off. Pop my new colour in. I'm going to bring in my new colour and finish my stitch. I'm going to hold on to that so it doesn't get baggy. I'm going to finish my stitch with the new colour. And I'm going to chain and cinch that down low to kind of secure it there. Okay, so now all I have to do is cut this off. And I'm going to work over both of those tails, but I will need to sew them in because a V-stitch is a little bit too airy and light to bury them. So I'm going to chain 3 and go back in that space I've just created to make half my corner. That's now half the corner. So we need to remove these and we can see where our V-stitches are. Okay, so we're going into the sides now. We're going to go into the sides, not the actual V's. So we're going in here. We're going to make a V-stitch. And we're going to make a V-stitch in this one. Okay, now we're at the corner. Full corner, exactly the same way as before. 2 chain in between. So it's a V, 2 chain and a V. Okay, so now we're looking at this. There's a V-stitch. This is in between them. So we're going to do our V in between them. And we've got a V-stitch there, and that's in between them. Where there's no chain space, that's where we're putting our V. Now we're at the corner, and you can see it there. We're going to do a full corner, which is our V-stitch. 2 chain and a V-stitch. Looking at our side, we've got a V, a V and a V. So we're going to go in between those V's and do our V-stitch. And in between the next one. Now back at the corner again. V-stitch, 2 chain and a V-stitch. We're going to go in between our V's. And then we have to finish our corner in the same way as before. So make a V-stitch and join by doing a half treble in the second chain. So now this is what it's looking like. We've got our square appearing. Okay, so as I did 2 rows in that colour, I'm going to do 2 rows in this colour. So I'm going to chain 3 and do a UK treble in that same place. That's half my corner. And now we're going to go in between the V's again and put a V-stitch. So we've got 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to put a full corner, which of course is a V, 2 chain and a V-stitch. And that's what we're going to do all the way around until we get back to finish our next corner. Okay, so I'm going to pause it then because it'd be a bit boring watching me do this, but I'm going to just go along and put V-stitches between my V-stitches, full corner in that middle 2 chain space. Go all the way around. I'll catch up with you once I get back to my start again. Okay, so I'm all the way around and I'm going to finish off my final V-stitch in my corner. And if this was my ending off round, and unless I wanted to finish right in the center to sew them together, I would then just do 2 chain and join to the second chain. So that's the first one, that's the second one. I've got my chain in the middle of them for my V, and I would just cinch that down and cut that off. Now, if I wanted to, I could edge that nicely in white, but I want to, as this is not the square that I was going to bring you this week, but I'm going away for a few days, so I didn't have a chance to perfect it. So sorry if you can hear the traffic. It's not very usual we get traffic. So yeah, I wanted to sort of show you a different one, but as I've not really got time to perfect that one, I thought I'd bring you the V-stitch square and show you a variation for that. So this is just doing it with V's, but it's so much simpler. I'm going to start with this yellow this time, as it's nicely set up on my spindle. So I'm going to start with a slip knot as usual. So we're going to just make 4 chain, join to make a ring. Okay, so this time I'm going to start with a granny. So as I've got a granny square, I'm going to do my stack. So I'm going to go into the center of my ring. Remember, you want to go under those 2 bars and right in the middle. And I'm going to do what looks like a UK double crochet or a US single. And then in this vertical, kind of slanted, vertical-ish bar, I'm going to just pop my hook in, yarn over and pull up my loop, yarn over and pull through both of those. So I'm now up to the height of a UK treble. So there would be 2 chains, but they're just thicker. And I'm going to yarn over, go into the very center, which you can now see quite clearly, and make a UK treble, just as we did before. I'm going to work over the tail again. Now I'm going to chain 1 and go into this center again and make 3 UK trebles. Remember, they are US doubles. If I say UK treble, I don't want you to go yarn over twice, because that's what you call your treble. But it's a UK treble, so a US double crochet. Chain 1 and go back in and do another 3. So we're making these 3 segments of 3, or shells, whatever you want to call them. I know they're not very big shells. Chain 1, and we need to do one last one in there. Again, I'm going to carry on working over the tail, because that means we don't have to sew it in. If it gets a little tight there, just pull it aside a little bit to put the last ones in. Okay, so this time around, I'm changing every row. And I'm going to just join by making a chain and going into my first stitch to join. And I'm going to go into the 2 loops of the top of the stack, which is the reason I love that stack stitch. I'm going to cinch this down and I'm going to cut it off. Now, the reason I did that is because I'm going to work, I can, if I want to, work over these tails now. It doesn't matter, they're just going to be buried. So I'm going to bring in my next colour, which is the pale yellow. Incidentally, this is King Cole price-wise, and I don't like it anywhere near as much as I like this style craft. It's so much nicer to work with. But this is just for the sake of a bit of contrast. So I'm just going to join my new colour. You join it any way you want, but I'm going to join it to one of my chain spaces. I'm going to do, that's not going to count as stitch. When I pull that right down, I'm going to do 3 chain, and I'm going to go back into that same place and do another UK treble. So what I've done is 2 of those count as a treble, 1 counts as a space. Okay, so that's half the corner, just as it was before. And in this particular space over this chain space, I'm going to do a UK treble crochet, 1 chain and another in there, as we did before, 2 chains and another V-stitch in that same space. Now, I'm not working over my tails this time because I don't want to make it confusing to anybody. So unfortunately, they will be a nuisance. They will kind of flap there. Okay, so I'm going to go to my next chain space and put in a full corner. So that, as we've done before, is your V-stitch, chain 2, and a V-stitch. This yarn is also a little thinner than my special DK, which is a bit of a nuisance as well. And in the next chain space, another full corner of V's. So 1 V-stitch, 2 chain, 1 V-stitch. Now we're back at our corner again. So I'm going to finish that off just as I did before with a V. And this time around, I'm going to chain 2 and just go into the top of my second chain. So there's the one in between. This is my first, my second. And just make sure that your very first chain, if you joined like me, doesn't get confused. See what I mean about all these tails? It's going to be annoying, but ordinarily they wouldn't be there for me. I would be working over them. Easier to work over them on this next row because we're going to do, whoops, we're not going to throw that over there. We're going to do another row of grannies. Don't you love it when things go wrong? I do. I think it's kind of cool and funny. So I'm going to join it now at any corner. I'm going to choose this one. I just don't want to work over 2 tails at the same time. Well, ordinarily I say that, but I'm not really working over many this time around. Okay, so this is a granny again. So I'm going to go back into that big chain space and pull up my loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those. Now I'm looking for this vertical one here. I go in and pull up my loop and do my stack. And now I'm going to do 2 UK trebles in that same space. Okay, so where's my end? There it is. I'm going to give that a little tug and it just makes that bit of loop that's sticking out there disappear. Okay, so now we've got V's and the space in between. So in that space in between, I'm going to put 3 UK treble crochets. Just like any normal granny square. And now we're at the corner. So I'm going to work over it and I won't work over the top. It just frustrates me when I see them because I don't normally let them go. But I didn't want it to be confusing. So in this big space, we've got V, our chain space, and our V there. I'm going to do a full corner, which is 3 UK treble crochets, 1 chain, and another 3 in the same space at our corner. So there we are. I will incidentally just show you how I work over this. It's frustrating. I've got to show you how I work over it. So there it is here. I'll pull it along and now I'm at the space of my next side and I'll work over it and I just move it along. That's how I would get rid of that. So I'm going to put 3 in this stitch here. Okay, and I would do that again to the corner. I would just move that along, that tail, until it's at the corner space, and then I can work over it and cut it off because I cannot stand sewing in ends if I can get around it. So now we're at a corner, so it's a full one. So that's our usual granny corner of 3 trebles, one chain and another 3, and that's going to get on the, get all curly. I don't know where that is. I can hear a phone. Okay, so let's just snip that one off and say good riddance to that. One less. 7 million to go. Okay, so now we're at the side. I'm going to put my granny stitch in that side. And now we're at the corner. It's here somewhere. I've got a feeling it might be my partner's tablet is left behind. And in between, 3 in the side. That corner again. So we're going to finish our corner with our 3 grannies. Chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of my very first stitch, which is the stack. Cinch that down and snip that off. Okay, so now this is what it's looking like. If you can ignore these ends, we have a row of grannies, a row of V's, and a row of grannies. I think it looks really cute. I like this one a lot. Didn't really see it quite as well in this busy variegated yarn. It didn't really pick it up as much, which is why I wanted to show you with solid colour what that kind of looks like. I really, really like that. And when I first learnt to crochet, one of the very first things that I made was a row of V's and then a row of shells. And that was what my mother taught me very first off. So this next round then, look at that, is a row, or a round even, of V's. So now we're just going to have more V's to do. That's all. It's just the same, but it's going to grow. So I'm going to join at this corner. Going to have a lot of sewing up to do. And I'm going to chain 3 and do a UK treble in that same space. So I've got half of my corner there. Drop that tail. And now in between our grannies, we're going to put a V-stitch. And we've got 2 of them to do this time as well. And now we're going to do a full corner, which of course is the V. 2 chains and our V. Whoops. And we're going to do that all the way around. We're going to put a V in between our shells or clusters, whatever you refer to them as. And a corner in our corner stitch, which is our V, 2 chains and a V. Let's have a look. That's what it's looking like now. Okay, so I'm going to pause it then. I'll catch up with you when I get back to the corner again. Okay, so I'm back at the corner. I just need to finish off this V. And chain 2. Whoops, that's 1. That's 2. And go to the second chain. So there's our one that's going to divide it. It's easier to count back. And then slip stitch into there. And end off. So if you do work your tails in, it's so much more of a happy life, really. But see, now I would work this one in. I would use this granny row to work all my ends in. I would bring it up through the yarn, bring the yarn up through the stitch, and always work them in. I like this square, it's really pretty. So yeah, that's another row then of grannies, and we'll join at any corner and choose this one. It's as good as any. And this time we've got a stack again in that sidebar, and if I give this a little tug, it just kind of neatens it off at the end there, at the corner, at the start, sort of thing. 2 more in there. And now we're going in between our V-stitches again. All that is happening now is just we're growing each side by another stitch each time. And you can carry on with this. You can make a whole blanket like it, or you can just make squares, and I think they're really cute. I like them a lot. It's one of my favourites, and probably because it was one of the very first that my mum taught me, so it kind of is a little bit of a special thing for me. Just a few years ago. Okay, so we're just going to carry on, going all the way around, doing the same as before with the granny rounds. And okay, so I'll pause it then. I'll catch up with you when we get here, and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so I'm finishing off my corner. Now, if this was your final round and you wanted to maybe join them by sewing, I might finish this with a UK half treble in the middle here, just by doing a half treble into that stitch, so that the yarn would be dead center, and then I'd leave a long tail. But I'm just going to end this one as I have with all the others, because I'm going to show you how I would edge this. So, oops, that did go through, more or less, just about. I will undo it and do it again. Okay, let's go back in. And I'm going to end this colour. Yet another end, guys. But then this one will get worked over as we go round. So, there we are. Here is our beautiful square. And I'm going to remove that colour, and I'm going to bring in some white. Now, you can edge it in this colour. You can edge it in white. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if you're making a blanket, the choice is completely yours. You can do it in black if you want, any colour. Have I found the end? Yes, I have. So I'm just going to join it at a corner. And I'm going to choose this one so that I can only work over the one tail at a time. And you can really edge this however you want. You can do a row of UK doubles, which are single crochets in the US, or you can do half trebles, which are half doubles. I actually like that because we've used UK trebles or double crochets, so that is a taller stitch, and when you join them together you want kind of a similar size, if you know what I mean. So I've done my chain, which I've kind of cinched down, and I'm going to do one half treble in that corner, and then another one. So I'm just going to put 2 in there. That's all, just 2. Now, sometimes this stitch gets a bit hidden, and I think it depends. This is quite thicker than, it's about the same sort of thickness as this yarn. And sometimes if you pull that aside and go in that stitch, I feel it can be a bit congested, but as I can see it, I'm going to go into it. I always feel that sometimes by pulling it aside and putting that stitch in, you actually make it very congested in there, but as it was presenting itself, I feel it will be fine. So I'm going to go into every single stitch all the way along and put a half treble crochet. And I'm going to go over that tail for once. It's just bliss. Working over a tail. Got so many to sew in now, guys, it's unreal. So you can do the same, exactly the same, with this one. You can just go in every single stitch all the way around. Now you can either go, you can go in the stitch as it is, like this, going in the 2 loops. So you're going in the stitch, or you can go in the spaces. Completely choice is yours. But that's what I would do, edge them exactly the same. And as I said, you can do it with the UK double crochet or a single crochet in the US terms. Whichever you find neatest, really, or prefer. I just like this stitch. It's my favourite one, really, the half treble. Oh, does help to finish it though. But I think it would look nice edged in the light colour. The light, I actually picked up more than I bargained for there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a yarn split going on there, which is very unusual for Stylecraft. Special DK doesn't usually do that. So now I'm going to put 3 in this corner. Okay, and now I'm going to go into my stitches as normal and work over another tail. Go on, get him spoiled. Okay, so we're just going to do that all the way around. So we have half a corner here with 2 stitches, but believe me, it's still half a corner, and a full corner there. And that's what we're going to do. 1 in each stitch along the side, 3 in the next corner, 1 stitch in the side, 3 in the next corner, go all the way to the end, and I'm going to pause the video. I'll catch up with you when I get to this last part here. Okay, so I've gone all the way around and finished that off. I've got 1 more stitch there and my last one in my corner. And if I slip stitch into this one here, then that brings me right out into the corner. I can then do my chain, cinch it down and end off. So yeah, by doing slip stitching into my first of my 2 that I did, that brings my yarn right into the dead center. So if I wanted to leave a nice long tail, I could sew that in, you know, sew them together. That's the word I'm looking for, if I was using the sewing method. But that's how I've done this one. Now, the most observant of you might notice that I started this one a bit differently to the way I started this one. And you can tell because I have 2 stitches either side in a cross there, whereas I don't have that on this one. I plumped for this because it was much easier to understand when I was showing you. But I've done both. For this one, it was just a little more confusing. But I like the way this one looks with the kind of V cross. But I also like the way this looks, so it's fine. I actually prefer it this way though, with a granny and a V. I think that looks, it really does make it pop. It sets it off. Anyway, it's just a standalone square this particular week because I am away, but you can do anything you want with these. They're so versatile. Bags, blankets, anything. Just carry on for an endless square. Or if you wanted to, try and make it a rectangle. There's plenty of, I've got tutorials on how to start off a granny rectangle. So then you could just make that a rectangle of V's and grannies. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed that one. I'll finish off my border on this and then add these to the bag of granny squares for the final kind of projects that we're going to do. Well, I'll just make kind of blankets, and I'll include all these as well. Although these ones are bigger, but some of my squares will be bigger than others. And we'll make a few blankets along the way with those squares that have been made, which ones kind of go together and put them together. So all of these pastel shade ones will look kind of cool together, and then we have some that are darker and more vibrant, and they can go together. So we kind of won't plump them all in the same one. That'd just be a bit weird. But anyway, standalone square this time, and I just want to show you, I'm using my pouch. I'm using it. So there we go. That was last week's granny square. So thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you again on the next one, and I've got my work cut out for me getting rid of all of these and all of these and edging. So bye bye for now. Take care, everyone.